Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Really nice to see so many of my friends joining me and Mr. Anthony Melchiorri. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
We're really grateful to spend time with you.
It's always great to spend time. I love you. I love you guys.
Thank you. Well, we're always learning from you. We have some questions for you. We have some things we want to talk about. I want to look first at just today's roadmap, so kind of a general overview of what we're going to do. I want to talk for a second about changing landscape because, as you know, every day it's a totally different world we're living in. And so we need to kind of revisit some of those things. And then I want to hear from you about Mission First. This is an idea that you pitched to us a month ago, like, hey, I have some things that I want to say about this. So we want to spend some time there. Also want to talk about the how, what, and why of the work that we're doing, and then talk a little bit about silos and have time for questions at the end. But first, I have a surprise for you.
You have a surprise.
I do. Now,
Mrs. Green, my first grade teacher, is going to be here. She left me back in the first grade.
Last time we did elementary school pictures, but I wanted to show you what came in the mail.
Oh.
Yesterday.
What?
This should look very familiar to you.
Oh, wow. Wow, I got one of those. I can't believe you bought one. That's great.
Yeah. Well, listen. So for you, those of you who don't know, that's a fogger. It disinfects. I think it's like 99.999% kills viruses and bacteria. And I think it lasts for something like 5 days. So I'm so grateful to you because, you know, I'm always trying to curate tools for our clients to be able to open safely. And this is awesome.
Well, thank you. They sent me one, and my wife now, like, no one's really allowed in the house yet, right? So we haven't had anybody over. You can come into the backyard, but like my daughter's friends come over, and if they use the bathroom, my wife immediately tells me to get the fogger.
Fogs it.
And I'm fogging up the bathroom.
You're like, no offense, everybody.
After I clean the entire bathroom, she makes me fog it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Listen, it's everything that I'm hearing, everything I'm seeing, no matter if you're going to, an attraction, you're going to the zoo, wherever you're going, it's people are appreciating over and over and over again, people doing things the right way. Again, my kids are getting ready to go to college in September, and I'm waiting for what they're doing. I want to see and hear what they're doing. And the more you do, the happier we are. And then we feel safe. And listen, you can't do everything. Not everything's perfect. You're not going to listen. If people aren't doing the right thing, my kids aren't doing the right thing, there's always a potential. But I want to know that people at least making strides. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday, here in New York, thank God, here in New York, they opened up the nail salon. So my daughter made a beeline for the nail salon. But what she didn't know was at 9 o'clock in the morning, I got there first, and I just walked in. I looked at everything. I came back, and she goes, Dad, I'm going to the nail salon. I said, yep, you're allowed. She goes, well, Mom said I was allowed. I said, no, Mom sent me to make sure it was fine. Now you're allowed. And she goes, you went there? I said, yeah, I went there, and it was perfect. Everything was the way it should be.
So what I like about this fogger, though, is that if you have kids that you're sending to school, you could buy them one. They could be in charge of doing that to their room, right? Not to mention higher education in general.
Right.
So
my daughter already told me that, my wife already told me that each one of their rooms, she wants them to have one.
Yeah, I think it's great.
And just so you know, I don't make any money from the fogger.
So I love it. I think it's a great tool. A lot of our schools now are doing 25-minute breaks between classes so that they can disinfect. And I like this because it's like stays for 5 days. So you could do it on a Monday and then you don't have to do it again until the weekend. So anyway, we're so happy to have it. We're happy to have it at our office. I may take it home and do some.
And it's easy to use, and the chemical lasts for a long time. And you put it comes with a little plastic thing. You put the chemical in, and it works. And what's great about the chemical they use is you can literally drink that chemical.
Yes.
And all you got to do is drink a glass of water. You'll be fine. It's like, it's not non-toxic. It's not going to kill you.
All my colleagues were like, oh my gosh, what do you have to do to use this? Like, is it harmful? And I was like, no, I have a whole fact sheet. And it's like, no, it's fine.
Honestly, I don't even put my mask on when I use it because it's safe.
Yeah.
But you should, but it's safe. But anyway, so I had no idea that you saw the show. I didn't know you actually watched my show.
Anthony, I watch everything you do. I'm always taking careful notes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what schools are planning. It's actually changed a little bit since last time we spent time together. So last time, 65% of schools were planning on being in person. This time, the numbers are a little bit different. So we're going to do a poll. I'd love to hear from you guys what your campus is going to do. Basically, what's happened over the past month is that some more schools have decided. So we're taking them out of the waiting to decide. And then some schools who were planning for in-person have now moved to hybrid. So there's, like with everything, it's an always changing situation. It looks like most of our campuses are still planning to do in person, so about 50%, and then hybrids 38%.
And
online.
And those colleges are in states that have higher numbers now? Is that what the problem is?
I think so. And I also think that, so this is true in hospitality, but it's also true for our schools, that we have schools in Chicago, which are going to have a completely different experience than a school that we have in rural North Carolina, right? So they're just trying to make decisions about what's the best thing for their.
Listen, New York, we had 0 hospitalizations in New York City yesterday for the first time. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
that is amazing.
We had 330 people test positive yesterday. Just 6 weeks ago, it was 11, 12,000.
Wow.
And we had like
so you guys are really on the leading edge of that. And now you've kind of weathered.
Well, because again, working the plan, we have a plan and we worked it.
Yep. That's exactly right. A couple of other higher education things I would love to hear from you about. So did you hear about Harvard has just announced they're going online in the fall, but they're going to charge the same tuition?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear about that.
Yes. So what's interesting about this is you have a bunch of student life people who are doing the res life and all of that other stuff who are saying, why would you be charging the same tuition? You're not providing the same stuff, right? So you're going to miss out. You're going to be in your house. We're going to miss out on a lot of stuff. And then you have a lot of faculty who are saying the only thing that people at Harvard are paying for is our lectures. So of course you would charge the same tuition. Mm-hmm. So really interesting if you think about the kind of different sides of the house and how.
And you're also you're paying for, if you want my opinion?
Yeah, sure.
How I see it, if my daughter or my son was going there, I would still pay it if I can afford it. And I would, because you're paying for 1, the lectures, 2, the brand name, and 3, what are you going to do? Tell your kid for a year you go to a different college? It's right. Harvard. So what's smart and not smart about that is they know their brand. And they know they can probably get away with it.
Yeah.
So some other schools may not be able to.
That's right. If you think about the value proposition, Harvard is like, you have access to our network and our name and our diploma, and you are going to pay for it and keep doing what you're doing, right?
So every single class at Harvard is going online? When did that happen? I didn't hear about it.
This morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So it will be really interesting because a lot of schools will follow them, right? So if they're the leader on that, a lot of schools are going to say, okay, well, I mean, if they're doing it, I think we probably
My daughter's school, the new school in New York City, she's fully online, and it's terrible. She's not happy about it, but they're fully online. And her boyfriend is going to NYU, and we're waiting to hear what's going on with NYU.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that's going on is that you have these articles that say college is worth it, but campus isn't, which I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this given the age of your daughter. So let me tell you what they're saying. They're saying basically, here's the quote from this article. In this pandemic, college experience has to change. Gathering students on campus is a gamble that could generate outsized risk for society and only modest benefits for students. So this article goes on to say, there may be students who need the environment and resources that a campus offers, but as long as you're fixing that for your online classes, there's no good reason for college students to come together. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say about that?
I think what you need a plan, and I think you need to understand your campus individually. Is there enough room? Are the rooms big enough? Like the college that I sit on the board of, Park University, they have a campus in Arizona, a smaller campus, and the rooms are large, and it's easily, you can have in-person teaching. So I think you have to know your campus, number one. Number two, I think the value of showing up to school it's invaluable. It is invaluable to have that interaction, listen, my daughter's schools, they're going to give us a plan, and I'm going to let my daughters go to school, and I'm going to tell my daughters to be safe and to be smart about social distancing is a personal responsibility. Then they should do something with testing, and they should do something with tracing and making sure they're able to keep track of them. Listen, I'm a big UFC fan, and this weekend they're having fights in Abu Dhabi, and everyone's got to be tested and retested. So there's got to be testing, there's got to be trace testing, and there's got to be rules. But I think it's worth the value. I think it's worth the time. And again, I don't like when people spew about, that are not doctors about this virus. But
Right.
The fact is, if you're not in that demographic and you're staying safe, odds are you're going to be okay. So it's a personal decision. Again, as a parent, I want my kids to go back to college. I want them to go to school.
I mean, if you think about the value proposition, so colleges are not just for 18 and 21-year-olds to go and get learning. Absolutely, that's part of it. But so much of it is about freedom and learning how to be an adult. And if you think about student development, right, that's what we're constantly trying to do, is how do we help these young adults develop into mature, responsible citizens.
Listen, I went in the military, and the military taught me how to be an adult. And I always say when I went in the military, I went to college too, but it took care of me, right? It got me ready, a start for how to be a human being. And I think college for my children has done that.
Right.
I see them developing, again, it's not the military, but I think for especially a freshman or a sophomore to do a year in your bedroom is not only sad. I don't know if it's necessary. I think if it was necessary, of course, there's not a question. You're not going to put your children at risk, but it's probably not necessary.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that you can't understate the psychological impact for young adults who, like you said,
But with that said, it's a personal decision on the parent and the child, and it's also a decision on the executives at the school. Because if you don't think you can keep your students safe and you don't have that kind of campus, then you can't do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So to that point, it's really interesting because there's so many players, and part of the controversy happening in higher education right now is that everybody on the left has a completely different perspective from each other. So administration is trying to keep schools open because they're looking at the bottom line and they're like, we can't reduce tuition and do online classes for another 9 months. We won't be able to survive. Faculty who tend to be more vulnerable because they're older and they're feeling very anxious about being in the classroom and uncertain about kind of what the plan is for keeping them safe. You have staff who are supposed to be in residence halls and they're supposed to be kind of boots on the ground making all of this stuff happen, and they're feeling really overwhelmed. And then to your point, you have students and parents, students who want to come to school, parents who want to send them. And there's a lot of conflict going on in higher education between all of these different groups. My question for you about that is, I mean, this is true in any business, right? You have these different constituents that you're trying to figure out, how do we listen to each other and respect each other and also make good decisions? Can you give us some wisdom about that?
Yeah, I think there's a plan. I think you sit in the room with the people that you trust and you make a plan. Once you make that plan, you have a conversation with the stakeholders and you let them know, you're very transparent. These are our issues. This is how we're doing it. We're cleaning the rooms every 25 minutes. We're going to change over. We're telling the kids to wear masks to class. The professor's going to be 50 feet away, and they're not going to wear a mask unless they're coming into a student space. Then they're going to wear a mask. Then what we're asking for the social setting is we're asking people to have individual dorms. We're asking them not to go into each other's rooms. We're going to have a space that is available for people to social distance. Okay. My daughter's a volleyball player. I hope to God the volleyball team is going forward, and they'll have proper procedures. So it's about setting a plan, believing in your plan, getting the stakeholders involved, and then executing your plan. The execution of the plan is difficult. The execution, the passion that you have with that plan is difficult. It doesn't take 3 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours. It takes literally an absolute passion and mission to get it perfect. If that's 18 hours a day or 20 hours a day or 7 days a week, but I'm bringing my kids back and I'm giving my teachers back, and it's my obligation to keep them safe. If you look at New York City, whether you're Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. We had a plan. Okay. And we stuck with the plan. If you're in New York City, wearing a mask isn't a fool's errand. You go to a different state and wearing a mask is a fool's errand. Okay, we take that seriously. Well, then they said, they said not wear a mask, wear a mask. They're telling us to wear a mask right now. The numbers are down. It's working. We're working the plan. They closed the restaurants. They were about to open up the restaurants. They kept them closed because they saw in other states that's not working, so they kept them closed. Very smart. I was happy they kept them closed. But you're allowed to go out on the deck and you're allowed to have a drink and some food. I don't need to go inside, especially it's the summer. So that was a very smart thing to do. So as you go with your plan, you're going to adjust your plan. So you're about to open. You say, "Ooh, that's not working. Let's adjust it." Okay, and then let's communicate. The most important thing, if I was on, if in running a school, and I'm actually working with my school to do it, is you need PR. You need to get an expert PR person to be able to explain your position to everyone, and you need somebody sitting in a room somewhere with you, making sure, yes, explain this, yes, be transparent. Let's do social media. Okay, we use social media for this, we use social media for that. Let's keep it lighthearted, but also let's keep it serious. And then let's have our visual cues. Okay, there was just yesterday, there was somebody on my show, and they went to they went to Woodloch Pines. She's a high-end travel advisor. And so she went to Woodloch Pines to see what it's all about, and plus to get away with her family. And she was going to get on a plane, but she has an older parent, and she decided it was going to be a driving vacation, which most people decided. She goes to a place called Woodloch Pines, and they go into dinner to see a magic show, and they had like 30 tables. And there were like 15 tables without candles that were lit and 15 tables that were lit. And they said, "You please go to the table that has a candle that's lit." So the candles that weren't lit means you can't sit there. Yeah. No tape, no signs, but there was a social cue of like, don't sit there. So they adjusted their plan. They had those signs looked terrible, so they took it out and made a candle. So I think if you don't, Harvard obviously has a reason. They sat down with their stakeholders. They sat down with everyone. They probably said, "Hey, listen, we have X amount of dollars. We can live through this for a year or two." But getting this wrong, because we're in a city, we're right there. We may not be able to get this right. We have a faculty that's maybe older. They're nervous. We can afford to because of our, because of what we have in the bank. And we can do this. So that was a decision. That was the right decision for them. But not every school is going to make that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. I really like the hey, come up with a plan, execute the plan, adjust the plan, right? It's just a continual process. And how you tell people about that plan is incredible.
And that's the most important thing. When you make the adjustment, you don't apologize for not seeing something. You just say, "Oh, okay, this came up. Okay, we're going to fix this problem." And guess what? You know what? Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have that class in person. We thought we could, but for some reason we can't. That is now going to go online. Yeah. Right now, there's a couple things to do. Drop the class, whatever. But I think adjusting and being vulnerable and listen, no one that is alive today has ever lived through this.
That's right. That's exactly right. I was just saying the other day to somebody, you can't follow anybody because we're all in the same position. Everybody is trying to figure out what's the best thing, and you can listen and you can learn, but you have to make your way forward.
Just the most important thing, if you're a leader and you're on a team that has a leader that is hard, it's very difficult to communicate, that's going to be difficult. Yeah. Right now, the communicators are the ones that are going to win this race. You need to communicate, you need to be transparent, and you need to be vulnerable and not know all the answers. Nobody wants anybody to know the answers. We just want you to have empathy and understand that we're all in this together.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I appreciate the way you have empathy is you listen to other people's experiences, you listen to them, and then you can make some decisions. But if people don't feel like you're listening, you're not going to get anywhere with them. So when we were talking about this series, we were talking about, so what do we think is the most important thing? And you said mission first. So can you introduce us to this concept and give us some insight into what this means?
So if you look at a college or university, what's their mission? Their mission is to educate, and then there's a second mission, a third mission, a fourth mission, right? Mm-hmm. No one in a university is used to saying that health and hygiene is number one. You could say safety and security, of course, right? Safety and security is always number one, right? With education, number two. So taking out safety and security, now hygiene okay? And keeping people healthy is your number one priority. So that's your mission. You start there. Everything else is secondary. Now, when you're going through that process of health and hygiene, you may not get to education and say, we can't do this. We
Right.
got to go online. We can't do this because this, and this problem exists. We can't do it. So you don't even get to your second mission of education. So now you say, okay, we can't do that. So now you take health and hygiene because you're not responsible for people who are home. So, okay, now let's get back to education. How can we do education online successfully? And how can we do that where people don't feel like they're job? Now, we can't give them, a break. We just can't afford to. So explain to me why you can't. I'm actually waiting for my daughter's school to tell me why they can't give me a break. I want a break, but if they explain to me and they're transparent and they're working their plan, I'm not going to do it. I think I may have mentioned this. I've never had a problem with American Express. I have American Express Platinum, and I called up because they charged me like it was $5,000 charges out of nowhere. I was like, I didn't charge this. Anyway, so I was on the phone with the lady. They took it off. And I said, oh, by the way, can you take off that $500 fee that you give me every year? This year, it's COVID, everything. And I was just testing them, and they didn't take it off. And guess what? They called my bluff. They didn't take it off. I'm pissed off about it. I'm talking about it, but I'm not going to cancel my platinum card because it does too much for me.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. So but they explained it. They tried to explain it. They tried to give me value, but at least they explained it. And I'm still not really happy, but it's my decision whether I keep the card or don't. So it's my decision if I still send my daughter to the school if they charge me the same fee. It's my decision. So the school is taking a risk. They may lose a big percentage of their students or they may not. It's their decision and it's my decision. But as long as you're being clear, the problem I'm seeing, whether it be hotels or any business that I consult on, is when people aren't being clear.
Yes. And I wonder about the anxiety that we feel that these parents are not going to be happy with us if we don't. Either way, whichever way you lend, the anxiety that we feel that someone's going to be unhappy with us, that then maybe clouds good judgment.
100%.
Right? Because you're like, oh, I don't want to upset people. Okay, but you have to have a clear way forward and you have to explain yourself, right?
Yeah, and I don't ever, very rarely are you ever in a conversation where you're being very clear with people, you're being very transparent, that people don't get it. They may not like it. They may decide to say thank you very much, but we're going to take our student and put him somewhere else or her somewhere else. She's going to go somewhere else. That's okay. But very rarely, if you're communicating and you're being transparent and you're giving your reasons why, will people get angry? Okay, when it comes to this, if you talk about other things, politics, that nobody gets along anymore. But when it comes to clear expectations, like if I was the president of a university, I would first say, I'm sorry, this is terrible for everyone. And, no one wants to be in this position, but this is what we're going to do. We're committed to this. This is our plan. Yeah. Once you come up with a plan and you're working the plan, we're not really asking, after we get the stakeholders and everybody involved and we have a plan based on the stakeholders' opinions, this is our plan. We're not asking to change the plan. This is our plan. The only way we're going to change the plan is if we execute it and it doesn't work. And that's kind of when I take over a hotel or any business, I'm like, okay, guys, housekeepers, front desk, managers, owners, guests, what do you guys want? Okay, we get in there, we mix it up, we figure it out and go, okay, this is what you want? Yes, this is what we want. Now, everybody get out of my way. This is the plan. This is the plan. Now, you say, hey, you know what? This is the plan we wanted, but it's not working. Okay, we'll adjust it. But it's not up to other people to tell me that, I'm going to change my plan. If it's not working, we can adjust it. That's fine. But you need to be very clear with a plan.
Absolutely. And what I like about that is that you can both be empathetic and not change your plan. Right? Like I understand you don't like it. I understand you feel frustrated. I understand you're fearful. And also, this is what we're doing.
Right. So you're a parent, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what you do. Listen, all of us are kids, right? We all need to know where we're going, why we're going there, and this is what it is, right? We're going to Hershey Park. Well, no, I want to go to Disney World. Well, this is why we're going to Hershey Park. Right. This is when we're going, and we're going on Friday. And you're coming with us because you're okay, and you can't go to Disney World by yourself. Okay, right. You may not like it, but once we get there, we're going to make it where it's enjoyable. So once you get to that school and you're wearing a mask and you don't like it, we're still going to make it fun. We're still going to make it enjoyable.
So Anthony, I love that because this happens, I feel like, for you and I often where I'm like, I really want to talk about this thing. And then you say it and I'm like, ta-da, I have a slide about it because we don't rehearse at all. So this idea of starting with why, there's so much talk about what and how. What should we be doing? How are we going to do it? What are we, right? But if you get to the core of why are we doing this? We're doing this because students need to have some semblance of normal life and we think we can do it safely. Or we're doing this because we're worried about our faculty and so we want to be protective of them. Or we're doing whatever that is. If you start with that why, then you can lead people to the how and what, and they're not, they trust you, right? They're not resistive. They understand it's a well thought out process. And then they get down to the details now of how and what.
100%. You know, you said something before when you said Harvard may be doing it because they have an older faculty. That stopped me in my tracks. I was like, oh, I never thought of that. So if I'm a parent and I know that the average age is 60 or 65 or 70 of these teachers and they're concerned, there's no second question.
Right.
I'm not going to put other people's lives in danger so my kid could go to school when my kid's 20. I'm not going to do that. So there's no other conversation. Now, other parents may say, well, it's not my problem. Well, okay, then maybe just don't send your kid to Harvard or to whatever school. Just don't do it. But as a faculty member, as a principal, as a president or provost, I would easily be able to stand there in front of everyone and say, you know what? I'm not killing 7-year-old professors. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You go somewhere else. That's it. Now right. I can't reduce my fee. Well, why? I'll give you the reason why. This is my P&L. This is what happens if I reduce it. We're going to be $1 million in debt. And guess what? In the junior year, when you want your kid to come back, we're not going to be here. So we're going to have to transfer that kid somewhere else. So either you pay it or you can transfer him somewhere else. Again, you can say it nice. You can say it empathetically. You can say it transparently. But just give me facts, man. Facts, man. That's all I want.
That's right. So when you think about that individually, as I was considering talking to you today, I was thinking about the personal power of being clear about your mission. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking about articulating, why do I do the work I'm doing? What gets me out of bed every day? Why is the work that I'm doing important? Whether you're faculty or your student life or whatever that looks like, why are you doing what you're doing? Because if you can articulate that and then have your actions follow, you will find your conversations and engagement with other constituents to be much easier because you have a very clear focus of why you're doing what you're doing. So I first of all want to hear, why are you in hospitality?
That's a really difficult question. Actually, it's a very simple question. It's the way I grew up and I had no guidance, whatever, and I just fell into it kind of, sort of, not really. But once I got into hospitality, did I ever tell you the story with Eloise? Did I ever tell you that story?
You have not told me that story.
Okay. So I'm at the Plaza Hotel. Always knew I wanted to work at the Plaza. I wound up there as the night manager. I'm really young. I just came out of the Air Force. I'm out of the Air Force maybe a year, maybe 10 months, something like that. I'm very fortunate I get the job as a night manager. I wanted it so bad. And one night I have my black tuxedo on. I'm all looking sharp, whatever. I'm running the Plaza because at night manager, you're running the show at night. So 26 years old running the Plaza, I'm pretty excited. And this young lady comes out, and you know about Eloise at the Plaza, right? So this young lady comes out. She's maybe 12 years old, 11 years old. It's actually, there's a picture of it and a story about it on my website. And she comes around the revolving doors at 59th Street. Have you been to the Plaza? Mm-hmm. Okay, so 59th Street, she goes around the revolving door. She literally points her finger in my chest like a shotgun and goes, "Mister, where's Eloise?" And I was like, I don't know, but we're going to find out. Long story short, I get Randy Glick, who's the VIP manager, and we invent a tour of where Eloise may be. And guess what? Once we did it, and I understood who my boss was. My boss wasn't the person that owned the building. My boss wasn't the general manager. My boss was that 12-year-old little girl who may have been a wealthy little girl or may have been a poor little girl. Her parents saved all year to go see Eloise. So my job was to make her dreams come true, right? So that's when I realized I fell in love with the hotel business, because I just like making people happy. And so my mission in life is making people happy, whether it be bringing my family through the COVID, whether it be my partners, whether it be the people I consult with, whether it be you. It's I want to make people happy, and I want to make people feel that they can count on me. So in the hospitality industry, there's so many opportunities every day to make people happy. So that's why I do what I do.
I love that, because it is the way you structure your life is you remember in the morning who you work for and what your goal is, and set then your steps forward, right, about what you're going to do.
Absolutely. You actually get me teary-eyed thinking about that little girl. She literally changed my life. She's going to wind up in the book I'm writing. She changed my life because listen, everybody wants money. Everybody wants a good title. Everybody wants to be respected. That's just a given, right?
Yeah.
But to be able to take somebody that's thinking about their vacation or thinking about a hotel stay or even a college experience, right? My daughter is about to play volleyball for her college, and she's not been there before. She's been to the campus, but she hasn't gone to college before. She hasn't been on a volleyball team before for college. So this anticipation has got her pretty nervous, right?
Yeah.
So when she gets there, and everyone's taking care of her, and everyone's making her happy, and everyone's holding her responsible, and everyone's keeping her, living up to the expectations she has in her head, or maybe exceeding it. That's what I do for a living.
Yeah, that's great. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking the work that I do it because there are students who feel alone and unsuccessful. And if I can create tools and practices so that they can be successful and their lives will be transformed because they can get a college degree, that's worth getting up every morning for, right?
And what did I tell you why when you approached each other to work together, or you approached me, why did I say I want to do that? I said I'm in. Why did I say I was in?
Yeah, because what you said was, if we save one student, if we help one student be successful, it's totally worth it.
I'm done. Right. That's it. And it's true. It's true. If I wake up in the morning and I put a smile on somebody's face in a real way, that means something to me. Like today, both my daughters for some reason were mad at me for no reason. It was just the mood. And I'm just like, I feel bad about that. I was like, but you know what? I didn't do anything. But later I'll try to make them laugh or whatever. But my point being is, this is not about just an education. This is about how you make people feel. This is about people feeling cared for, protected, and respected. And right now we're in a very difficult situation. And the number one priority is to keep people safe but also give them their life back a little bit, to give them normalcy. And if you can do that as a university, then it is your job to do it and have them on campus. If you cannot do it, and you cannot, again, what's the mission? Mission first, hygiene, safety, health, right? If you cannot do that, then you cannot do that. And then you go to the second mission. But if you can, it's your mission and it's your priority to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's good. I was thinking about, that reminds me of a story from one of your Hotel Impossible episodes about the housekeeper. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about why people do their jobs. And I was thinking about the housekeeper from Bossier City, who, do you remember this? The hotel was awful. And she woke up every day because she loved her housekeeping staff. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to protect them. She wanted to invest in them. They were like family to her. Mm-hmm. And she pawned her wedding ring so that they could have a Christmas party. And if you said to her, why do you do what you do every day? She wouldn't say, I love housekeeping, right? She would say, I'm doing this because I want to empower these people who are around me, and I want to be invested in them. And that is good work, even in the light of a crazy hotel owner that was a total.
Is your job to make me cry? that lady, I literally fell apart. Like, I fell into her arms. I started to cry because it's like, and you know what her wedding ring was worth? You know what she pawned it for? And now, if you remember that scene, I don't know if you can see it on thing, but I looked at my producer, and my producer went like this, because my producer knew exactly what I meant when she said she pawned the wedding ring. My producer knew me well enough to say, get that freaking wedding ring back. I don't care how much it costs.
Go find it.
I'll sell my house, get that wedding ring back.
Yeah.
And so she went to the pawn shop, the producer, and she got the wedding ring back. You know what the wedding ring was worth? $40.
Oh no.
She pawned her wedding ring for $40. So she was asking the owner for $40 for sandwiches.
Right.
And so that is the only time, well, actually second time, because the last show I did, the last show I've ever done, I get so angry that I break down. Like, that person got me so angry, that owner, I broke down. I literally, off camera, I broke down because I wanted to hit him. I mean, like, how do you treat people like that? How do you treat people like that?
I do not
So,
blame you for wanting to hit
so,
him.
so he was so disrespectful. He was treating these people like they were nothing. The words that he said, and I won't repeat them here, about his people, it was horrendous. And again, they don't put people first, you
Yeah.
know. And you will find most director of housekeeping and most housekeeping managers in hotels. They don't care about prestige. They don't care about money. They care about their ladies. They care about their men. And I'll tell you this, if you want prestige, even if you're a 5-star hotel manager, being the director of housekeeping at a Four Seasons is great, but it's not the most prestigious. Being director of operations is more prestigious. So if you're a director of operations of housekeeping at Four Seasons, because you want to be,
Right.
and you love what you do, or any, it's too hard work not to love it.
Right. So that is exactly true about student life professionals. The reason they do that work is because it is rewarding. They love it. They can't imagine doing anything else. If you said, what are all the hard things about it? There's a long list. There's always more work. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night. There's a long list of
And nobody appreciates it.
Nobody
right?
appreciates it. That's right. People don't often talk about it. It's kind of behind the scenes. You don't have as much prestige as faculty do oftentimes on a campus, but they could not imagine doing anything else.
Listen, my wife's a pre-K teacher, and people think it's like, oh, that's an easy job. Ridiculous. But anyway,
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So I think that part of the way that we get through the hardship of everything that's going on now is that we articulate what is our mission, why do we do what we're doing, and then wake up every morning under that truth, right?
And acknowledge the truth of it's hard. You have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge, because again, I think I've said to you that I sometimes take myself to the beach and yell at myself. It's like, this is hard, man. It's like right now I'm 4 months into, I haven't been on a plane. For a guy that travels for a living and 250,000 miles a year, I haven't been on a plane in 4 months. Like, it's been fine. The last couple of days, I'm like starting to tell my wife, hey, I'm going to Vegas for a speaking thing, and they want me to do this, they want me to do that. And she's like, not really. But I'm like, I'm getting close to, like, I got to get on a plane or you're not going to want me in the house. So you have to, you have to be fair with yourself and say, this is hard. Like, don't try to be a tough guy or a tough girl. Like, this is hard. Recognize that, recognize that. If you need more time in the gym, or you know what, if you on Wednesday night, you had a glass of wine, but now you have a glass of wine on Wednesday and Thursday night, that's okay. The first month I never drank in my house. The first month I drank a small glass of scotch every night for the first month. I've never done that before. I haven't done it since, but the first month I did because I just needed that relief, right? Just that kind of tension relief, whatever it was. Now I'm back working out in my house, in my garage. I'm building a gym. So whatever you need to do to just tell yourself, this is hard, so what? You have no choice. And I think that's the thing that I try to tell people. It's like, recognize to yourself, this sucks. This isn't fair. Who cares? It's hard. Who cares? Move forward. Take care of what you have to take care of, because at the end of this, you'll be better for it, unfortunately. That sounds hard to believe, but somehow you will.
I think that that's true. And I think where people get stuck is when they're just in the place where they're seeing problems and they don't have optimism, right, and gratitude to be able to say, what can I control and what can I do differently, and how can I have, kindness for myself and other people? Because if you're in the world where it's all just problems and you feel overwhelmed, that is very stressful. It is very hard to move out of that.
Listen, there's hard times and there's hard times, right? So if you put your problems on the tree and I put my problems on the tree and I say, okay, which problems do you want back? You'll probably take your problems.
Right.
If you have somebody that's in a COVID unit, you have somebody that you lost, there's so prioritize your problems, right?
Right.
It's whatever they are, they're yours and they're hard, but you have got to be, like you said, you have to be grateful.
And also when we're off balance, this is the best place to be innovative and to change things, right? So this is true. I think I told you that my training's in counseling. So most of the time there's a script where if you think about like so me and my husband, we have an argument, we have a script. He says this, I say this, he says this, we say this, we end up in the same place. The place where you can make a difference is when somebody goes off script. When you're off balance, you have space to do something different and to change. And so I think part of what we're talking about is things are not normal. Let's innovate and figure out what we can change and what we can do differently and how we can do that well. I love your example of the candles, right? That we don't have to have signs and we don't have to have, we can just create an environment that leads us to be healthier and still be able to be together. If that's
and to your point, it's also to me, the most important thing, you've heard this a million times from people, is know what you can't change, right? And know what you can. So you know your husband's a certain way, and you know he is not going to change that way. So don't try to change it. Just try to deal with it and just manage it, because is it worth throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
Right.
You know, and a lot of people get divorced because they throw the baby out with the bathwater, or maybe it just wasn't working, whatever. But there's like some things you can change, some things you can't change. Listen, I can't change the way Florida is dealing with COVID. I can't change the way New York's dealing with COVID. I'm just glad I live in New York.
Yeah.
You know, because they're taking it very seriously.
Yeah.
I would not want to be in Florida right now because they're not taking it as seriously.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I can't change that. I can't change the way my governor or their governor did it. I just have to deal with what's in front of me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one last thing before we're done, I was thinking about silos. So on a campus, you always have silos. You have these different people who are doing things and they're not talking to each other. I think it's worse now because at least before we were all on campus together, now everybody's at their house. And so you have even bigger silos where people are not talking about their experiences and what's going on. And so I was thinking about, how do we teach people, if you know the mission, if you wake up every morning and you go to work and you know why you're doing it and who your boss is, if you push forward because you love students and you want to take care of them and give them this environment, how, if you are a change agent, do you start to break down silos? Because not everybody understands the things that we're talking about. Not everybody has that perspective of, we need to have a mission. We need to figure out what's the best thing to do. So here are some of these things. I don't know if you have, surely in the hotel business, there are all sorts of silos of people who are not talking to each other.
Yeah, but the good news is I'm never in my office, so I'm always like, hello, hello, hello. So I know where the silos are, and I break them with jackhammer. Yeah. With that said, you know, one of the things that's great about your software is that it like, you want to get information so you know where the problems are. So what now is going on where people are in their silos? What information can you gather through software or through communication with people? So I'll give you an example. If I'm a president of a university or just say general manager, and everybody's working from home. So I'm going to call my executive team in. I'm going, okay, guys, what are you seeing? Okay, well, this professor's not really getting back to us, and this professor's not. I want to know what's going on. And then in that interaction, I can tell who's, like, I can look them in the eye on Zoom and say, okay, all right, make a note. That person's not doing right. That person's not doing well. That person looks a little sad. And then you do your own analysis. So right now, it is the leadership's job to break down those silos. You have silos, you're done. You know, one of the reasons I think the quickest way for success in turning around a business is there are no silos. They don't exist. Okay. And then, of course, naturally, when you rebuild the business and things are getting better, they start to get silos again. And then you got to break them again. And then they got to go again. And then you break them again. So you have to understand you're in a silo breaking business because they're always going to be there.
Right.
You're never going to get rid of them permanently. They're always going to, I remember there's 3 people that weren't doing really great in one of the hotels I ran. And all of a sudden I saw them go to lunch together. And I was just like, when human resources, I said, hey, I know they're all on a plan. Like, how close are they to like not working here anymore? And they're like, well, they're basically there. Okay, let's make that happen, because they all started ganging up and they all got into this silo, and they were not really good employees, and they were basically being terminated. So what are we waiting for? It's like, I have to break that silo. On other hand, people may just be upset or depressed and they're not doing their job. So you take them, you cuddle them, and you say, okay, what do you need? What are we doing wrong? You don't like the plan. I know people are on campus. I know you don't feel safe. How can we make you feel safe? Okay, maybe is this the year that you're going to take off? You know, how do we do that? So I think the number one priority for leadership right now is to be incredibly intuitive. And if you're not an intuitive person, surround yourself. I think the reason you and I get along is because I think we're both intuitive. And I think if you're not an intuitive person, surround yourself and ask people to protect me because I'm not figuring this out. Do you ever see Big Bang Theory with Sheldon?
Mm-mm.
Well, Big Bang Theory, Sheldon is an astrophysicist and he just doesn't get it, right? And like he'll say like ridiculous things that people like she just said I love you and you said thank you. Like you don't say that. Like what does that mean? And like he doesn't get those social cues, right?
Right.
So but
Yeah.
people around him help him with the social cues. So if you're a leader and you're not great at social cues or you're not great at being intuitive, surround yourself with people that are intuitive.
Absolutely. And I love the idea that you are not only, so sometimes when we talk about breaking down silos, people think that their job is to get everyone to listen to them. So I'm going to break down silos by telling you what I think you should be doing and what you should be doing, right? Versus this is a give and take. You break down silos by talking, but also by listening and saying, what is your experience? How can I be helpful to you? How can we be creative partners in that, right? Not just, I'm going to tell you all the ways that I need you to be a good partner to me. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to communicate. So I think that two-way street is really important. Anything else that you would like to add? Anything else on your mind today?
It's not too much in my mind. What is your mission? I think that you said in the beginning, like, what's your why? Why do you get up in the morning? This is hard. You're in your position, whether you're an executive, whether you're a professor, you're in your position for a reason, right? People count on you. You don't have to be good at everything. Surround yourself with people and ask for help. But there's something that makes you get up in the morning and that you want to do. And this has made it more complicated to do it. So get resources and get people around you to help you do what your core mission is. You know, like, again, I do my LinkedIn show 12 o'clock because my core mission is helping the hotel business. And now it's blown up to the biggest show in hospitality. But that wasn't the number one priority. The number one priority was to get people together to know what's going on. And now President Marriott, Hilton, everybody's on our show every day. And that wasn't the mission. The mission was to tell people, here are resources. This is my opinion. This is their opinion. And so I get help. Glenn helps me out. You know, I still have to do things that are different than I used to do. But at the core, I'm still helping people. And if you take my core away, then I've lost everything. And my core, from my business perspective, is helping people in hospitality. That's my core, making people happy.
So there is this piece of once you know what the core of you is and you work in that, it just, everything falls into place, right?
Yeah, because the hard things aren't going to get easier. You'll just be able to have such a passion for something that there's a couple of ways to look at it. Either ignore it because it's really not that important, work through it, or do something in a way, and I don't mean this in a negative way, crush it. So you can move forward to what your passion is, right? And I think if you don't have a passion, what do you have? You have nothing.
Yeah.
You're bored. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, the more money people I know, the people that I know that have a lot of money, they're the most bored people I know. People that work for a living like us, they ain't bored. We're working. I know a lot of rich friends that can buy and sell me, and they seem to be real friggin' bored. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I'm too busy working to be bored.
That's right.
That's about what I do.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's why this message is so important right now, because people feel really isolated and confused and stuck. And so saying like, hey, remember why you do what you do, calls you back, and also gives you an opportunity to lead from where you are, right? Mm-hmm. Look around, what can you do? Share information, have conversations, break down those silos, and that's really powerful.
100%. And listen, I always enjoy our conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, if you have questions for us, we're going to continue to do these over the next couple of months. If you have questions, please submit them. The link is in the chat. I think our next one is in 2 weeks. So we'll just be looking at what's going on and how things are changing. And if there's something that you would like to hear Anthony talk about or address, please let us know. Hey,
Any
friend,
questions?
thank you.
Nobody has questions?
Well, yeah, everybody is very interested in this fogger.
Is in what? Oh, fogger?
Very interested in this fogger. Yeah. So they're all like,
you have the information, right?
Yeah. So where do we get it and how can we find it? So that's really fun to see. I think it will be a really good.
So you have all the information. So
I do. Yeah. I will make sure we send that out to the.
Yeah. And listen, I think it costs $900. I don't know if there's a smaller one or a cheaper one. But then there's the electric static guns, which are $3,000 about, and they're a little bit more difficult to get. The difference between a fogger and an electrostatic gun, so people understand, is a fogger is going to go in and it's going to fog everything in front of it that you touch. Okay. And then you're going to fog underneath the tables and you're going to fog behind the TV or whatever it is. With electrostatic gun is you take it and you spray it. And then what it does is it takes it, however it works, it kind of wraps the table. So instead of cleaning underneath the table, it will literally just spray the table and it will wrap underneath the table.
Wow.
That's more expensive and that's harder to get. A fogger is going to fog the space and going to fog what you touch and fog around it, but it may not necessarily wrap the table. And that's fine. So you just spray underneath. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But to me, I guarantee you, I would, if I was running a hotel right now, I would have a lot of foggers. If I was running a university, I have a lot of foggers for two reasons. One, it works. And two, it tells the student and it tells the parent and tells faculty we're doing our job.
Yeah.
Seeing somebody clean with a wipe doesn't really give me a lot of security. Because how clean is that rag? Are they touching everything? I see somebody like
Ghostbusters. It's like Ghostbusters.
And what's good about the fogger is it's really what you put, the chemical you put in it. You can put anything in it. You can put, poison in it. You don't want, you want to use the chemical they give you because it's the same chemical they use in hospitals to clean rooms, surgical rooms. It's the same chemical. So if they're using it when you're opening up bodies, it's going to be safe when you're walking through a classroom.
For sure. I do have a question for you from Courtney. She said, Anthony made a great point about dealing what's in front of us. Used an example of Florida and how we can't control it. I'm struggling with this issue within my college. The numbers in our states are the highest they've ever been. Any coping strategies?
Keep yourself safe. Do what you can with your family to keep you in control. So I'll give you an example because I had to deal with this. When New York got hit, right? Everybody comes to New York. We have 20 million people. To put in perspective, 20 million people in the 5 boroughs of New York. You know how many people are in Florida?
Yeah.
23 million, all of Florida. So we're this big and we have 20 million people. So everybody comes here to all the airports internationally, from China, from Europe, from everywhere. And then they leave and they left us with this. And we were devastated. And like I think I told you, I lost a very dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we were devastated. And so I'm a news junkie. And I literally shut off the news. I did not look at news for 32 days in a row. I said, I have to keep my family home. And I got to clean all my packages. And I've got to stay safe and make everybody happy in the house. Let's watch movies. Let's play Jeopardy, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've got to make sure there's groceries, and I got to make sure I'm Italian from Brooklyn. So there's always, I had a little cash in the house to make sure I didn't have to use my credit card. So I went out, I had my gloves on, I had my mask on. I went out, I came, it really felt like I was back in the days where you went out and killed what you ate. That's what I was doing. Going out, getting it, coming in and keeping everything safe. So my coping mechanism was shut off news, take care of my family. As things opened up, my coping mechanism was, okay, let's make common sense decisions. We have to wear a mask. We have to stay 6 feet. But am I going to be able to keep my 20-year-old from seeing her boyfriend? That's probably not realistic. However, where are they going? What are they doing? I don't want them going to Connecticut, which I think was open with restaurants. Like a couple of weeks ago, they wanted to go to a restaurant and go inside the restaurant. No, you can't do that. I don't care if you're 20, you live in my house. When you live somewhere else, you can go. So to me, it was so my second stage right now is coping is keeping everybody happy, making common sense decisions, but people have choices. If my daughters who are 20 years old, my twins, want to go to a backyard barbecue and they're telling me to social distance and they're not, there's nothing I can really do about that. So my coping mechanism is I'm doing my best. But to keep them home, I kept them home for 3 months.
Right. I was just going to say, it's a really big discussion among student life development people about how do we control college students. And I think you're right. I think the answer is we have incentives. We try to teach them. We tell them why we're asking them to do things. But student life people have never been able to control college students, right?
So
you're in charge of themselves.
So whatever the decisions is going to be the decision, from a faculty standpoint. So you can mandate when you come into class, you wear a mask. When you're talking to a professor, you wear a mask. Yeah. You can mandate those when you go through the hallway. If not, you're going home. Okay. When you go back to your dorm, you guys can't, commingle. When you go out and you go to a bar or you go onto the football field or whatever, what are we going to do? Right? But I can, if you have COVID and you're 8 feet away from me and I have a mask on, you have a mask on, I'm probably going to be okay.
Yeah. And let's tell them why. This is why we want you to be careful.
Right.
It's so that we can get back to a life.
Right.
It's
and then
so that we're protecting people.
Right. And take their temperatures and do antibody testing before they come to campus. You can do some things to make people feel more comfortable, but you're not going to keep it perfect. But yeah, so coping skills is, I know what I can control and I know what I can't. I'm a control freak. Matter of fact, there's something sticking out from that closet that I keep trying to hide because my OCD is getting the best of me. I'm a control freak. I can't control that right now because I don't want to go fix it. And so I know what I can control. I know what I can't control. But right now, your mental health is the most important thing. If you can't catch yourself, you've got to be around people that care and love about you to tell you, hey, I think you need a little help. And I've had to do that to somebody close to me. It's like, hey, we need to have a conversation. Yeah. And so again, I do that for myself. I know when I'm getting to the edge and I go to the beach and I yell at myself and I'm fine. Or I just go lift a lot of heavy weight and I feel better. So that to me is the best coping mechanism is, yourself, when you're in danger, when you need help and be true to who you are. And remember something, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care if you're a lawyer. I don't care if you got a perfect score in your SAT. I don't care if you never went to school. This is hard for everyone, rich or poor. This is hard for everyone. So give yourself a break. This is hard.
Yeah, this is hard, especially I think for people who are trying to show up for their kids or for students or for other people, right? There's what I'm going through and then what I'm trying to provide support-wise for other people. It's just hard. And we're getting to the point where we're past the sprint and it's starting to feel more like a marathon, and it's just
and that's the problem.
Hard.
And what I said probably first month in, and I realized that this wasn't going the right way because a lot of states didn't think this thing was real. But what I said to my wife and to my kids, get ready for a marathon. You have to get yourself ready. And I've run a marathon once, and I remember getting ready for that marathon. I wasn't trying to be fast. I was just trying to survive the marathon. And thank God I got through, but it was hard. So this is a marathon. And so you need stamina. Like if you're a boxing fan, you can box for 15 rounds. That's different training than if you're a UFC fan, where an MMA fan, where you're training for 3 5-minute rounds as opposed to 15 rounds, which to me is a marathon, right? Or 12 rounds. So it's a marathon, and you've got to really, really, really take care of your mental health and give yourself a break. The other day, I almost lost it. And I was like, I've worked so hard to keep everybody together and make everybody feel really good. And I almost lost it because somebody said something. It's like, well, you don't know. And I was like, because no one cares. Listen, I have 3 daughters and a wife and a dog, and nobody cares about my opinion or what I'm feeling. And I almost lost it. I almost literally said, do you wonder? And I didn't. I was just like, okay, I'll be right back.
I need a minute.
I got on my bike. I did about 30 miles an hour down to the beach, jumped off my bike, and sat on the beach for about 2 hours. I came home. I was like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, where'd you go, Dad? Just went to the beach, went for a walk. But I almost lost it. And you can't lose it. Like, you can't lose it. Like, if you're a professor, if you're a president, if you're a parent, your job is you have to get help. And again, not to keep beating that horse, but this is hard, man.
It is hard. Thank you for spending time with me, Anthony. I always feel challenged and I always learn something, and I appreciate your disciplined approach to life where you just say what's important and then you work hard after those things. And I think it really gives us some balance when it's hard and we feel overwhelmed to be like, hey, pick what's important, push hard after it.
And I think what people are looking for, whether it be university or business, is people look for trust, right? So let's give an example. When we first did this the first time, it's like you sent me an outline. I looked at it real quick and said, yeah, that's fine. Last night you sent me an outline and said, I know you're not going to look at this. And I did it because I trust you. And I purposely did it because you said, I know you're not going to look at this. I said, you're right. I don't need to. I had no idea what we were going to talk about today because I trust you, right? And so that's really, parents and students trust the university. So we have to be able to meet that standard.
Yeah.
And trust doesn't mean being perfect, and trust doesn't mean having all the answers. Trust means that I'm going to tell you the why, and I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
And the best is all I can do.
That's right. All right. Well, you guys, please continue to send us questions and answers. We'll compile those and talk about them in 2 weeks. If there's anything that we can do to be helpful, please let us know. Otherwise, hey, know your mission, work hard towards it. And this is hard. Good to spend time with you guys. Have a great day.
Passion changes everything.